everyone, and welcome to Really Old Movies. I'm your host, Harrison Scullin, and today I'll be discussing And Then There Were None from 1945, and it's a film from Rene Clair and made at 20th Century Fox. And so now let's get into some behind the scenes details about this film. This movie, which is officially based on the novel by Agatha Christie, as per the on screen credits, this film has an ending that resembles her later stage version and not necessarily the book version. While the identity of the murderer is the same in both, the survivors of the tale in each are very different. Another detail, there's no dialogue for the first 5 minutes. And lastly, Agatha Christie's novel has been adapted 10 times for film and at least twice for television. That's more adaptations than almost any other novel ever. And let me tell you why, so let's bring this up here and let's talk about the plot. So the plot, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I really like this story. I remember reading it in high school, but I kind of forgotten, how it ends and all of that. So it was really cool watching it basically for the first time because genuinely I had no idea who the murderer was. And, normally I would reveal who it is and whatnot, talking about the spoilers, I guess. But I kind of want people to experience it for themselves the same way I did, kind of going in blind. I think knowing going in will ruin it. And so now going forward, if I watch it again, I don't know if it will hold up the same. Maybe there's little hints of who the real murderer is. I don't know. But I really like this story. I love the tension of it. I love the characters, trying to figure out what's going on and whatnot. And we as an audience are kind of with them too. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who it really is. So I love that. I love this. And you could definitely tell it's still an Agatha Christie story. She also did Murder on the Orient Express and other stories too. A lot of the Poirot, she created that character. But I love these kind of films. They're always very intriguing, very interesting. And again, you have no idea who done it, I guess. This is probably the most famous who done it. It definitely up there for sure. But I had a great time watching it, and I love this story. So 5 out of 5. All right, let's move on to the acting. So my thoughts on the acting, I gave it a 5 out of 5. I thought they were really, really good. Walter Huston, he did great. Was it Barry Fitzgerald? He did great too. Pretty much the entire cast was great. The only weak links really were, I don't remember their characters' names, but they're pictured here. The girl there, and then the young guy in the background. Their acting was good for the most part. They were a little cheesy too, but honestly, all around, it was a great cast, and I thought they did really, really well, fit their characters very well, and I thought they all worked really well together. I liked that. It felt very much like an ensemble cast. Because that's the thing with this kind of a story, and Agatha Christie, you need to have a group of people, not just one good actor. You need a whole group of great actors. So I think they really accomplished it here. And that's why I gave it a 5 out of 5. All right, let's move on to directing. So this is Rene Clair here, and these are his other films. This is one of his more famous ones, but he also did the film I Married a Witch, which is a great rom-com. I love that one. Let's see, what else did he do? The Flame in New Orleans. I've heard of that one. He did I think he was from France. Yeah, because a lot of these are in French, so I don't know what the titles are. But I really liked what he did here. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think he did a fantastic job of, assembling a crew together that really worked well together. I thought the editing was on point too. I thought the stage direction and all that was on point. I think he did really well here. And I think this is why it's one of his more famous ones, especially on this list here, more popular ones. I think he did a great job here. Now, having only seen another film of his that is definitely not like this one, I don't know if he was more of a more of a journeyman director where he could do pretty much any genre. I don't know. But it seems like if he did more movies like this, that would be great. I think he'd be perfect for it. And so that's why I gave it a 5 out of 5. All right, let's move on to cinematography and special effects. I'll be honest, I give it a 4 out of 5. It's pretty generic, nothing like super spectacular or anything like that. But there's some really good close-ups, and he did some pretty clever things to hide the actual murders, because it's a pretty violent story, but we actually don't really see any of it, even though it's all hinted at. Like, here's a character here, you could just see his shoes sticking up, but he was chopped up into pieces, with an axe. But we don't actually see any of that. It's very tame, and like I said, there were pretty clever ways he was able to hide a lot of the gore and whatnot, because we really don't see anything. I also love the visual too, of as each person's being killed off, that the little Indian statues are being knocked down. I really liked that. It was a really good visual representation of where everybody stands, and where we as an audience are like, oh no, there's another murderer, and all of that. I love that. Just a little elements like that. You can't really do that in outside of film. I think that's the great thing about it. You can have visual indicators of what people are thinking or feeling or going through. I think that was really done well here. So that's why I gave it a 4 out of 5. All right, let's move on to the music. So same as with the cinematography, I thought it was good and set the tone, but it's nothing really out of the ordinary. It's nothing you would really recognize if you heard it. At least for me, it was pretty generic. It was nothing spectacular, but it really did set the tone and did its job. That's why I gave it a 4. I didn't hate it. It did what it was supposed to do. All right, so tallying that all up, that brings my overall score to a 4.6 out of 5, which I'm rounding up just barely to a 5 out of 5. And that makes my critic list score on 92%. So would I recommend this movie? Yes, I would. I thought it was a really good story, really good thriller. It really keeps you on the edge of your seat. And especially because you really don't know who the murderer is. Now, some people might not like that. Some people probably would like more hints or whatever, but I was genuinely shocked when I found out who it was. So I thought it was a really, really good tale. You could see why it's been adapted so many times. You could see why so many people like it. I will continue to like it, because I remember liking it in high school, the book anyway. And, like I was mentioning, the ending's a little different from the book, but it's pretty much on par with how it is. It's a pretty faithful adaptation. And so, yes, I would recommend watching this movie. And so with my critic list score being a 92%, there's no graphic language, nothing like that, very tame. Violence, like I was mentioning, there's a bit, some of the murders and whatnot. There's a lot of talk, but not a lot of visual of it. We don't really see any blood or any gore, anything like that. It's a very, very tame movie, but there's a lot of discussion of death and violence. All right, then as far as nudity and sexual content, there's just some light kissing, nothing out of the ordinary. Political bias, none that I could tell. I don't think there's any. And then family friendly, very much so. I think this would be a great first murder mystery for your kids, because I think they would enjoy trying to figure out who the murderer is too. If you've ever played the game or watched the movie Clue, it's based off of this. So I think kids would enjoy it. All right, so entertainment value-wise, I found it very entertaining and a fun time to watch. But I'll have to see if, knowing who the murderer is, would I be able to enjoy it the same watching it again? I don't know. Probably, because I watched Murder of the Orient Express, the more recent one by Kenneth Branagh. And even though I already knew how it ends, I still enjoyed watching it. So I'm pretty sure I would still like this one. But time will tell. All right. So with that, those are my overall thoughts on And Then There Were None from 1945. And thank you for watching today's movie review.